Hello and welcome to another episode of Inspired by Yarra. This is the podcast that's been created to enhance, connect and inspire the Yarra Valley Grammar community and beyond. So wherever you're listening from today, I want to say thank you. Thanks for tuning in and for being part of a community where we celebrate story, we recognise adventure, and we want to acknowledge growth and perspective and wisdom that is gained not only through school and tracking your way through the lessons and the experiences of school at Yarra Valley Grammar, but also acknowledging the growth and opportunities that presents after finishing your time at Yarra. Today I sit down with Penny Swan from the class of 1990. School captain back in the day. Rather humble about that leadership opportunity, but still arrived in Year 11 and then went on to obviously make a significant contribution to our school and has done in multiple ways since then. I know that you'll appreciate the wisdom, the perspective and the clarity with which Penny is able to share. Enjoy this conversation with Penny Swan from the class of 1990. Welcome back to another episode of Inspired by Yarra, and today have the opportunity to sit down with Penny Swan from the class of 1990. Penny, welcome to Inspired by Yarra.
Thank you, Paul. It's great to be here.
Penny, can you take us back to your early memories of coming to Yarra? What year did you start in and why at that year level?
So I started at Yarra Valley in 1989 and I came into Year 11. So it was so long ago that girls were only invited to Yarra Valley in those years, Year 11 and 12. So the odds and were pretty much in our favour, to be honest. One girl for every 3 or 4 boys, which was quite nice for me back then. And my sister had just finished Yarra Valley. So I came in with a sense of excitement back then because I knew that she'd had such a great experience at Yarra Valley, and I was really looking forward to my final 2 years of high school there.
And had you come from a co-ed environment or had you come from an all-girls environment?
So I came along, when I started at Yarra, I'd come from Luther College, which was co-ed, and my entire schooling had been in a co-ed environment. Of the 70 girls heading into Year 11 in that year, in 1989, about 35 of those were coming from Tintern, so they already had preformed friendships and largely knew each other coming into the school, and then the remainder were from different schools from around the place. But prior to that too, so I was coming officially from Luther College, but it was on the back of an exchange to the States that I came to Yarra Valley as well. So just to clarify, this is news. So in 89 you started at Yarra, but in, for example, 88, were you in the States? America, yes.
Tell me a little bit about that. Why were you there?
Well, it was just I'd been watching an American TV show when I was 14 and decided that was something that I'd always had a sense of adventure and really interested in travelling. I hadn't been overseas at that point and had a real appetite for it. So I begged my parents to apply, and I was 14 at the time, and they were like, yeah, you won't get in. You're too young. And of course, obviously put a compelling case forward and begged enough, and I got through. And so when I was 15, I headed off to the States, down south to Tennessee, and went to a school down there. And it was back in the 80s, so it was still there was still a great deal of racial segregation down there. So it was a real eye-opener for me and an amazing experience, a transformational experience actually. And I came back with a great deal of confidence and certainly an appetite for more change and to try new things, which was really what introduced the idea of moving from Luther to Yarra Valley to me and for my parents.
Wow, that's a fascinating backstory. So not only were you changing Yarra by coming as one of a few girls who coming into that year level, but it was a significant change for you because you've had 12 months in the States and experiencing their version of learning and education and equality or not, and then you're coming into Yarra equally with a situation that wasn't equal in terms of numbers at least. But did you find that when you started at Yarra there were opportunities for the girls?
Absolutely. I thought just opening the school up to girls in itself was, I think, Yarra Valley acknowledging that it was important for co-education, and it was great for students to be able to learn alongside each other regardless of their their gender or their racial background or whatever that may be. So I certainly felt like it was an inclusive environment at Yarra Valley, and it was a big start to that. There was obviously some resistance from people that had just not experienced co-ed environments before, and that was just a learning. But largely I felt like we were welcomed with open arms.
Fantastic. That's great. So who in those early days, and as you say, some of the social groups had perhaps already come pre-packaged, but where did you tend to hang? Who were the people? What was your crowd? Were you out on the sports field? Were you hanging in the library? Were you behind the shelter sheds? Like, where was your space and who were your people?
Well, because I was coming from a school and from another environment that I didn't know anyone. I had gone to school with a few of the boys, but I hadn't seen them really since those days. So I was coming in and I was quite excited about that. And what I found was that those that were coming from schools without large circles of friends were far more open to, forming new friendships quickly. So I did find it a very welcoming environment. And the group that I sort of formed friendships with very quickly was a really eclectic group. So we had sort of general interests. We enjoyed sport. There were girls in our group that were from the fine arts environment and an interest in that area, and others that we played tennis together in earlier days, or we were doing classes together. So it was really an eclectic group, and it worked for us, and it was both boys and girls. And we very quickly, it surprised me now looking back how quickly we bonded, and those friendships that we formed quite solid friendships. And although we did have a friendship circle, because some of those friends weren't in the hockey team that I played in, I also made friends in the hockey team, and the Rockestead, I made friends there. So I felt like even though there were some people that had come to the school with preformed friendships and friendship groups, we're all really open to meeting new people, and it was an inclusive environment, I felt.
And it seems to me like you took on the opportunities to get involved in this and this and this. You weren't keeping an alliance with a particular group of people, but in fact followed your interests and have a go at this, give a try at that. Where, from a classroom perspective, where did you kind of err? Were you up in the fine arts area? Were you enjoying the sciences, or was it writing? What sort of subject areas did you kind of head towards?
I can say too, my academic education is very much like my career. I'm more of a generalist than I am a specialist. At the time, I found that frustrating because I wasn't really sure what area. Like, I looked at people that had an absolute passion, a deep passion for graphic design or for fashion or for sport. I wanted to do it all, and I wasn't fantastic at any one of them, but I enjoyed them and I did them to a degree of okayness. But really, I've now come to appreciate the fact that my strength is really in the fact that I give things a go and I try things, and I'm not really that scared of failure. And I may not be that great, but I give it a go. So from an education perspective, I probably didn't take advantage of the academic aspects as much as I could, because I was busy socialising, doing sport, enjoying Yarra Valley singers and debating and a whole host of things. But now looking back, that was the best thing for me, because I had a very well-rounded education and experience there.
And I think you're right. It's not saying one way is better than the other. It's saying what was right for you, what was best for you was to have the opportunity to try lots of different things, and as you say, do well in some and not so well in others, but that in itself is a learning experience.
Yeah, and I left Yarra Valley, and again, it took me some time to really appreciate this, but it certainly gave me the foundations in leadership and personal development that, you can't get from a classroom, you get from a whole host of environments, and Yarra Valley afforded me that.
So before we leave Yarra, tell me a little bit about leadership, whether it be student leadership, because you might have a thing or two to say about that, but also school leadership. Who are some of the leaders of the school that you can remember back in those days, staff and then students?
Well, one teacher in particular had a profound effect on me for many years to come, and I've had a conversation with you about this in previous years, that Margaret King, who was our year 11 and 12 coordinator, coming into, you're going through your teenage years. As much as I reflect on Yarra Valley really positively and it being a great time, there was also, tough teenage years and tough times that you go through naturally, and everyone does. And she was fantastic. I found for me, she was a great mentor and provided great leadership. She had that great balance between empathy and understanding. She was very authentic, but equally she was our teacher, and I really respected her as well, and I respected those boundaries. So from that perspective, and leadership from a student perspective, I think we had a lot of strong leaders in our year, some from a sporting perspective that did a great job. My friend Kim, I think, was a great leader, and she did so really well as a prefect and also through her sporting achievements. And I think we had a really strong student body, prefects as well, that provided great leadership not only for our years but the younger year levels as well. And that was, for me, probably one of my greatest, I don't know to say achievements, but certainly something that I really was proud of when I left, was that, that I was able to connect with some younger students, and, they told me years after how much that meant, seeing some of the older students coming back and spending time with them in the tuck shop line if they were all alone, and, coming to talk to them and really, connecting with them and what that meant to some of them. And, again, that was something that I'm grateful to Yarra Valley for that opportunity.
It is interesting, isn't it, how significant a conversation can be, particularly if an older kid recognises you or gives you some time just to have a conversation. As a younger student, that's a significant, opportunity to feel like I've been noticed and I've been. And yet, for the older student, it's not a big deal, really. And we can change somebody's whole day just by slowing down enough and saying hi.
That's right. And I think I now know I've got a 7 going on 8-year-old son, and when he started primary school, they were explaining to us that they didn't have a cafeteria, and why they didn't. They said because you can often find some lonely students that will gravitate to the cafeteria, as a way of avoiding loneliness and spending more time there than they are mixing and building friendships. And I reflect on that now, because when we went and spent time, looking after the tuck shop queue as leaders of the school, you don't think of the impact that can have. But that one child that's perhaps lonely and looking for something, you spend that moment, and that has been a lesson that stayed with me for life. Those conversations, you think, I don't think that I could have an impact on someone, and then you have, and you didn't even realise that you did, and that's very humbling.
Yeah, that's a great reflection. I really appreciate that. Tell me, when you finished year 12, and there would have been a number attached to that, do you think much about that number? Does it really mean anything? Was it significant for you? Did you get a grade that you were happy with, or does it not actually matter in your experience?
It certainly doesn't now. I will say I'd always been a good student, and then in year 12, I think I was disappointed in the number itself, because I set high expectations for what that would be. But I think I was so focused for a little while, because back then it was all about the number. That was really the definition of whether you're a success or not. I allowed that to be that definition for a while, and it was only in the years after that I think the biggest lesson for me was that my education wasn't sacrificed at Yarra Valley because the number wasn't what I wanted, because I got so many other things out of my time there, and it was a great investment from my family to send me to Yarra Valley, because it was a privileged opportunity to go there. And it set me up, like it showed that I can do anything. It didn't stop me from doing anything that I wanted. I've had a great life, and that number has not had one impact at all. And that would be a message I would say to any student feeling the pressure, is that I I had a great time there, and I worked hard. I built great friendships. I took on leadership roles. I tried everything, and I did it without fear of failure. And did I get a number I wanted? Absolutely not. But you know what? I found other ways around of getting into the course that I wanted, and it gave me time to reflect on really what it was. Because to be honest, the courses that I selected at Yarra Valley, I wasn't thinking about future me. I was thinking about what's the cool class to be doing at the time and which ones are my friends doing. I wasn't really focused perhaps on what I should have been. But again, it gave me the education, the well-rounded education that I needed, and the learnings that I needed as well. My parents never ever pushed me because I was kind of hard on myself, and they were the ones at the end that said, let go of the number. You know, forget the number and think about what else it is that you achieved at Yarra Valley. And I'm really proud of what I've done at what I accomplished at school and what I've accomplished since. And that's the failures as well.
That's a beautiful reflection. And as you say, the reality is in the moment, you can get caught up with what you think is the most important and what you think is the most significant. But hindsight and reflection and maybe some wisdom around you and life experience helps you then to go, actually, there's more to it than a number. And in that sense, there is success there because you've looked back and seen, yes, I grew in this area, I learnt that, I explored that, I got the opportunity to do this or that. But the reality is, it doesn't always turn out that way. Sometimes you have experienced failure, or you've had a letdown, a trip, a stumble and a fall. And I wonder if you can share with us an experience where things didn't go the way you wanted to, whether it be at school or after school, and how do you respond in that moment of disappointment or maybe absolute shattered, you know, everything's fallen apart. Can you tell us a story about something that didn't go to plan?
Yeah, absolutely. There's been those moments through school, post-school. Life is about that, and I like to aim high, and I know with aiming high sometimes the falls can be you can fall a little harder. I'm not just cruising along accepting that this life is what it is what it is. I want more and as much as I can from life, and with that there comes some disappointments because I'm a little unrealistic at times too. And you know, at the end of school absolutely was one of those moments, and I think the biggest point for that is I needed the time to reflect on what was in my control at that point. You know, to be honest, I was saying that I wanted to be a lawyer. Well, I didn't want to be a lawyer. So it wasn't stopping me from doing anything else. You know, marketing was the right place for me to be, and international business, that was right. It just gave me the time to reflect on that and figure out the best way to approach it. And it wasn't diabolic anyway, but it was certainly, I felt personally crushed there for a while, that I wasn't where I wanted to be. But I came back even stronger, and I think you've just got to figure out what's within your control, and then what you can do, set about the recovery from there. And what it also afforded me was that time to reflect on what it is that I wanted. So I spent, you know, that gap year travelling, and actually it was more than a year travelling, and I came back with absolute clarity. And had I got into the course that I wanted, got into law straight out of school, I would have been probably dropping out 2 years later and unhappy, whereas I took a year and explored and did the most amazing things, and came back absolutely focused on university and was a better student as a result. Like I understood how to study. I did a great job of, you know, focusing on the things that were important, and it was because I'd had a setback. So I dipped and then came back stronger.
Yeah, that's great. We're talking with Penny Swan from the class of 1990, and Penny, you told us a little bit about wherever it came from, but a sense of adventure even before you arrived at Yarra, and you talked your way into, you applied, you approved the opportunity to travel. And it sounds like once you finished at Yarra, you then went and travelled again. Do you still have a love, a passion, a desire for travel? And if you do, is there a place that either you would strongly recommend that would be a great place for people to go and explore, or is there a destination you've got in mind that one day you'd love to go and see?
That is the toughest question. So absolutely still have a passion for travel, and now I'm with great joy, introducing my 7-year-old son to travel, and it's not always the grandest of trips, travelling around, beautiful places offshore. I also love camping. I have a real connection with the outback because I drive rally cars, and I have spent time rallying in the outback, and I have a real connection there, and I've taken my son there, and he's been part of the service crew and enjoyed that as well. So it's not just the destination for travel for me, it's the experiencing all the things around that. So whether it's the food and, whether it's camping under the stars, or whether it's, some beautiful moments in a lovely hotel, whatever that may be. And I don't have one particular thing on my list, but certainly the ones that I have, places I've travelled that I know that are important that I want to share with my son. I would like to go back to Africa and spend a term there and have him go to the school, and I'd like to volunteer at a school where we've been sponsoring our sponsored child there for the last 10 years. Archie and I have talked about that at length, so that's something really important that we can share together. And I'm also realistic. I know that he won't want to travel with his mother for, beyond the ages that I'll be paying for him, I suppose. So I've got a bit of a list of things that I'd like to do with him, but certainly for me, adventure comes in all shapes and forms, and I don't limit that to any one place or any one thing.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love that notion of building a long-term connection with somebody who you're supporting, and then you and Arch being able to go over and visit and see what real life is like over there. That's a beautiful goal.
I hope, we're aiming for grade 5, so I think that's also a really critical time, where we live. We're very fortunate here, and we have so much, and I think kids too get more and more and more, and we want to give them more and more and more as their parents. I think that's a great age for us to go back, strip it back to the bare essentials, and just see what makes us happy. There's so much, there's a really innate joy over there with so little. And certainly the communities I've experienced over there, that's been the case, and I'd love to share that with Archie, and so he can come back as a young boy and understand when I'm saying no to an Xbox or a Wii or whatever it may be, or sometimes when I'm saying yes, how grateful and appreciative he is of having that.
Some little parenting advice thrown in. That's fantastic. Thank you. That's great.
Not intended.
No, I appreciate it. It's good because the listeners of this podcast many of them are YOGs. Some of them are current students. Many of our parents tune in. So I think that there's certainly some wisdom in what you're sharing on all of those layers. Tell me a little bit more about your story in terms of finishing year 12. You went and travelled. You found yourself a little bit. You came back with more focus. What did you come back to? What was the kind of the next steps in your pathway?
So I came back, started studying marketing and international business, which I really loved. I got very much into, I had the same approach to university as I did to high school, and got myself knee deep in every activity going around, and was very much involved in the water ski team there, and loved that. That became a big part of my life. And also at that point, I really started having a true hankering to rally, to drive rally cars, which I'd been exposed to all my life. My parents have been involved in rallying since I was born, and my parents actively discouraged it because I thought that it was, a waste of time and money for me. I should be focusing on my education and buying a house. And so I went off and just bought myself a car, and having no idea what I was doing, they, as good parents, went, okay, well, you've shown us commitment, we'll come along, and we're not going to pay for a thing, you've got to show us you can afford it, but we'll come here and we'll support you for every event. And so that ended up being a big part of my life as well. And the rally community that I formed there was much like the one that I had at school. People from all backgrounds. I love that. I love learning from different people and experiencing different sorts of personalities and backgrounds, and you certainly get that from a rallying environment. So I did that for a long time, and meanwhile, finishing off my uni degree while I was working full-time as well. And from a career perspective, I've just I worked for the Holden racing team because motorsport all of a sudden became my big focus, and I ended up being a driver manager for Mark Scaife and Craig Lowndes And then I moved into other areas of motorsport and did some great stuff and met some wonderful people. And I'm really pleased with the things that I've done along the way, but it hasn't taken a standard course of working in one industry and climbing the ladder. I've certainly deviated, and I think only now I sit back in my 40s and appreciate that that's my journey. I'm not the person that does things in a methodical order and that will climb a ladder and in 18 months this is where I'll be. The way I experience life is kind of a little all over the shop, and I'm happy with that. I'm meeting great people and I'm learning a lot more about myself. I'm so happy now because I've tried so many different things, and I'm now at a place with my career that I'm also really happy because of that. Those experiences led me here, and that would be my advice to my son too, is that you don't have to follow anyone else. You find your own way, and it doesn't have to be something that's a laid out plan.
Yeah, absolutely. And it takes a certain level of courage and confidence to do that, though, doesn't it? In terms of, by the sounds of it, if you've found an interest, and I don't mean to stereotype, but if you found an interest in car rallying and driving, and you've purchased a car, and that led to some involvement in high level, elite level of motorsport, I imagine there wouldn't have been too many young ladies who are interested in that and have been able to pursue a career in that the way you have. I wonder what did you learn from an environment that's endeavouring to perform at a high level, the Holden Racing team, for example, and some of the names that you mentioned, those drivers are at the top of the game. What do you learn from being close to those sorts of performers?
It's funny. When you're on the outside looking in, you have a perception of what it would be like when you're there. And when you are in, you realise that these are just people. They have families that they go home to. They have the same stresses. The things that they're getting frustrated about are not things that we can't relate to. In fact, probably they're the same kind of problems that we're frustrated and worried about. They're worried about their kids. They're worried about, doing a good job. Their job may be really well paid and seen by millions of people around the country, but they're still worried about their performance at work, as we are in a very different way. So I think every experience I've had throughout my career with people of high profile or environments of high profile, and even, when I was competing, these are just all people. And you know what? People are generally really good. They want to help. When you ask for it, the good ones are more willing to help than not. And there are more good people than not too, would be my take on it as well. And what you figure out too, when I was young, I was probably not as confident when I was working for the racing team as I am now. And, some of the things you have people, saying things that are a little intimidating at the time. But, you don't have to, they're just humans, and you don't have to, you know what you're willing to accept and what you're not. I learned a lot from the time with the racing team, and I thought that was great from, just an equaliser perspective. And from my experience in rallying itself, the guys that I rallied with, 9 times out of 10, they just wanted to see me loving the sport like they do, doing well. They didn't want me to beat them, but and they didn't respond particularly well when I did at the start. But really, now when I go and compete, I'm just one of them. And we all have that in common. We all love that rush, that adventure, the camaraderie, the support, and if something happened, they would be there and help you, as I would be for them, although I don't have great mechanical skills, so I wasn't that helpful, but we're all just human.
Yes.
So I learn a lot from that.
That's great. I've written down here rally driving, because that's an area that I've never spoken to anybody who's done that, into that, and this is fascinating for me. Are you the driver, or are you the navigator? Are you the everything? And are you the one who, is it the speed, the pace, the uncertainty, Like, what is it about rally driving that excites you?
I drive. So I started up co-driving, and that wasn't really for me. I'm a bit of a control freak, so I found that really difficult, to be honest. I was doing the invisible braking and, so that just wasn't, and I get car sick when someone else is driving too. So I realised really early on that driving was for me, and it was the teamwork. I love that, because when you have a co-driver in the car, they very much guide you. They open the road for you with their instructions. Wow. They give you the confidence to go fast when you can't see what's ahead. So I loved that, being in sync. And equally with the service crew, I love you get out of the car and we're all in it together. And there was, we often had mechanical issues or whatever it may be, but we always had such a great time. We were always the lowest budget team in the events, and we did a good job. Like, we put in some really great results, and we had always had huge amount of fun. The other teams were fantastically supportive. And, I'd be lying if I didn't say I love the speed. And, I love the strategy of it all too. So it's not just in rallying, you can't just put your foot down and go fast and expect to win a rally. There's so many variables, so many things that, come up. The conditions may be wet one day and dry the other. You've got rocks on the road. You've got kangaroos when you're competing in the outback, and emus as well that you've got to counter for. And I love that. That's so exciting, And then you're racing against yourself, because you're at 2-minute intervals, so you haven't got someone side by side. But if you're catching dust, that kind of gets the adrenaline pumping, and, you may get to overtake someone. But I realise I'm talking quite fast now, because I know that it's something that really excites me, and I don't get to do it that often anymore. But when I do, at the moment the helmet's on and the harness is up tight, I love it.
Wow, I thank you for speeding up as you told us that, because we could feel that excitement, and we were almost in the car beside you. And I'd be a co-driver any day with you at the wheel. I reckon that'd be all right. I'd feel quite comfortable and safe there.
Thanks for the confidence, Paul.
I wonder whether I can take you back into the Yarra environment, and I want to be very respectful of your time. And I've just got a few more questions to explore here as well. But if I offer the term to you, levavi oculis, I wonder if you can recall, that is our school motto, and whether you remember what that means. And if you do, what does it mean today?
It's funny. I do remember it. I didn't reflect on it a lot while I was there, but I think from memory it's lift your eyes up. Lift thy eyes. Yeah, lift your eyes up. And again, I probably didn't think about it a lot when I was at Yarra, but if I do think about it, it's, to me, it's beyond us. So you're looking up, and it's your friends, and it's the community, and it's the Yarra Valley community itself. So it's almost a humbling kind of motto, where it's not just about us. It's more than that. And I think it's quite grounding.
Yeah, that's great. I'm going to move into what I like to call the lightning round, where they might be short, sharp answers and short, sharp questions. Some of them will stretch you a little bit, and some of them will be school-related. Some might be sort of more general. But I wonder if you can recall, what house were you in while you were at Yarra?
Arnott.
Did they do any good in your day?
I remember getting dressed up, but I can't remember if we did any well. We were any good.
Is there a musical or a drama that you remember either being involved in or watching that was memorable?
Well, I was in the Rock of Stedford, and that was fantastic. Loved that. And also the Yarra Valley Singers.
How did you used to travel to and from school?
Bus, and I got dropped off in the morning and the bus home at night. Yeah,
and you come to know a small group of kids that way, don't you, from different year levels, that they're kind of your bus friends.
Yes. Although it kind of changed a lot when you have sport after school, which, invariably had activities most nights. So that time of catching the bus would vary. So I didn't get locked in so much with a solid group that I'd catch the bus with every day.
Sure, yeah. What would be a regular feature in your lunchbox?
So a big favourite was Taylor's bread, cottage cheese, sultanas, Vegemite and lettuce.
Whoa, we're going to have to break that down. That's quite a combo.
Oh, you've got to try it. It's fantastic. One of my mum's creations.
There are people who are going to replay the last 15 seconds and listen to that combination, that recipe again.
And I could have had 3 apples a day. I loved apples.
Would you prefer house swimming or house athletics?
Swimming.
Is there a piece of work that you completed while you were at Yarra that you're particularly proud of?
Oh, very sadly, no. No.
That's okay. What was your first car? Being a car person, when, the first car that you owned and you were allowed to drive on the roads?
It was a Hillman Imp that my dad had restored, and he did say that, I had to buy my own car and I didn't have money at the time, so I drove that as a starter, but it wasn't my car. And then I bought myself a terrible old boggy brown Corolla with rusty roof racks.
What colour was it?
It was boggy brown with a white roof.
Penny, you've been really generous with your time. I've just got maybe 2 more questions to go, and I want to give you the opportunity, and I don't want you to be humble, but a 30-second brag. What's really working well for you right now?
I'm 30 years out of school. I've got an amazing son. I've got a great job that allows me to connect in education, which is a space that I'm really interested in from a marketing angle, and also with the community, which is really important to me. And yeah, I'm really fortunate. I live a great life. I'm really happy. So, yes.
That's fantastic. And do you have a habit or a rhythm or a routine that is part of perhaps your success or your happiness?
Exercise has always been really important for me, and I find that, from a mental health perspective, I find that I'm happiest when I'm in a rhythm, and exercise plays a regular part of my life. So, and when I fall out of rhythm with that, I can feel myself kind of just not having the same level of motivation and energy. So that's certainly an important thing. And of the last 4 months, I've also been getting into a rhythm of nightly meditation before I go to sleep, and I found that really helpful, disconnecting from the day and going to a nice, relaxing sleep.
That's really, really good. My final question is based on this podcast being called Inspired by Yarra, and I wonder if you can reflect something that inspired you from within during your time at Yarra, whether it's a thing, a place, a person, an experience that was inspirational and, dare I say, maybe a life-changing experience or opportunity.
So I'm 40-something, and Yarra Valley was only 2 years of my life, yet it has had a huge impact on my life. And I couldn't pinpoint one thing. I will say that I think the friendships I formed, what I learned about myself while I was there, and the opportunities it gave me a chance to look much broader than I thought possible. So even though we didn't have the same facilities as they do now, it certainly didn't feel like there were any limitations. And that's an amazing thing, to walk out into the world after year 12 and have that sense that you can do anything and be anything, and anything's possible. And I think the school teachers and the friendships that I formed there played a big part of that. So that certainly, I think, 30 years on now, we're having a 30-year reunion. I consider that quite inspiring.
Yeah, absolutely. And putting it in context of your 40-something years, and it was only 2 years, and yet there are ripples of that continue to be part of your experience and your life today. It's great. Penny, thank you for your time. Thanks for the opportunity to catch up. I know we had to have a couple of goes at this, but it was worth the effort. So thank you very much.
Yeah, sorry about my tech, my inability to sort out the tech side of things, but thanks very much for your time, Paul. It's always great to catch up with you.
Fantastic. Excellent. Thank you very much. And there you have it, another episode of Inspired by Yarra. I hope you found that conversation with Penny Swan from the class of 1990 to be interesting, engaging, and informative. As each of our guests here on the Inspired by Yarra podcast, Penny is a YOG, a Yarra Old Grammarian. And if you know of other YOGs who you think might be interested in this episode, or in fact any of our episodes, or interested in becoming one of our upcoming guests, then we'd love you to be in touch with us. And you can send an email or contact us via the community section of the yvg.vic.edu.au website. We look forward to you joining with us again next week when we have another episode with another Yarra Old Grammarian who also has the opportunity to share their stories and adventures and life lessons. We look forward to seeing and hearing and speaking with you then. And now, on behalf of everybody who's part of the team who puts these conversations together, I want to say thank you and wish you another day where you get out there with intentionality to make a difference in the world around you.